Hello, everyone. Welcome to William and the Magic Box. Today on our show, we're going to have Daird. Daird is from California in the USA. So let's see what Daird has to say. Enjoy the interview. So, hello, Daird. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Very well. Thanks so much for taking the time this morning for the interview. Thank you.
Oh, yeah, not a problem.
So, tell me, how was your night last night? I know it's very early for you right now. So, tell me, how was your evening last night?
My evening wasn't too bad. I spent most of the week not getting a whole lot of sleep because I get up so early for work. But last night went to bed a little bit earlier because I don't work today, so it was kind of nice. Yeah.
And do you consider yourself to be more of a day or a night person?
Um. Well, I like to be a morning person, but so I work shift work, so sometimes I get on like an overnight shift, and then I don't really have a choice. But I do enjoy being a morning person.
What do you do for work for a living, Daird?
Right now for my career for a living, I'm an air traffic controller. So I
Wow.
direct aircraft on and off an airfield, and then on the side, I'm an online personal trainer for people that want to transform their body. Mainly, I do busy moms and dads.
Wow. So tell me a little bit more about your career as an air traffic controller. My God, I never had anyone here on the show uh, profession. So tell me how the opportunity came along. Did you always want to be, or just life kind of, took you to that direction?
No, I never even knew anything about air traffic control. I actually, out of high school, I went to college and was playing football, and I always wanted to continue playing football. And then I broke my leg and ended up leaving school and joined the Marine Corps. When I joined the Marine Corps, I got a good I got good grades on my what they call the ASVAB test, and I was eligible for any job. And the guy kept telling me that air traffic control was a good job, so I was like, sure, I'll take it. And then
Oh,
I ended up really enjoying it, being really good at it, and I did 5 years in the Marine Corps, and then I still work in the same room. I'm just now a civilian doing the same job.
that's amazing. My God.
Yeah.
Okay, so during the interview, I'm going to explore a bit more about your life and also about your journey so far, okay?
Okay.
And tell me where are you from, Daird?
I'm originally from Houston, Texas, but
Mhm.
since the Marine Corps, I live in just north of San Diego, California.
I see. And all your family are back in Houston?
My dad moved away. He lives in Colorado. My grandma, who raised me, she moved to Indiana, and I think my sister and my mom are the only ones left in Houston.
I see. Amazing.
Yeah.
Daird, are you ready to go on a beautiful journey for your members in life and share your point of views?
Yes.
Amazing. Welcome to William and the Magic Box. So I have here my best friend. Of random fun questions. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to play a song just for us to relax before the first question. Okay?
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
Let's do it. All right, so before we start the game, during the join, if it comes up a question that you don't want to answer, you don't want to talk about, always can change. Okay?
Okay.
Right. First question is, who has been the most influential person in your life and why?
That would be my grandfather. Um, my grandparents took me in and started raising me after my dad went to prison, and my mom just wasn't much of a parent. So they took me in at a really old age. My grandpa was diagnosed with cancer at the same time. And so he
Oh,
was battling cancer and now raising this unruly 9 year old out of nowhere. And he just taught me everything that I needed to have the kind of tools that I need to be where I'm at today. Like who I am today is 100% my grandfather's creation, I guess you can say. So he's been the most influential.
and when you think about him, tell me a memory, something that comes to your mind that makes you smile.
Um, my grandpa had a pacemaker put in his heart, and they told him he was a hard worker. I grew up on a horse ranch, So we were always working all the time. And he had a pacemaker put in when he turned 60. 2 weeks later, he was using a chainsaw. And one of the things you're not supposed to do is operate things like chainsaws because of the vibrations. And so I just always remember him being like, I don't give a shit about this pacemaker. If I'm gonna die, I'm gonna die working. So
Oh my.
that's the kind of man he was. Yeah, that's one of the things I always remember about him.
And he was your dad's dad or your mom's dad?
He was my mom's dad.
I see. I see. Okay. Next question. Let's do it. Okay. Next question is, what did you want to be growing up?
Oh shoot. So as a little kid, I always wanted to be in the NFL. I've been a football fanatic my entire life. I devoted countless hours as a kid to football and I excelled really well. So I always thought I would always do that until kind of life, I guess, threw a wrench in that.
Wow. And did you have any idols, growing up in the football career?
Oh man, I was a huge Troy Polamalu fan for the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Right. And how was for you growing up? Of course, you mentioned already that, because of the circumstances of your dad, your life somehow went a different direction. When you look back, knowing the person you are right now, do you think that's meant to happen for you? Do you feel like the situation in your life made you the person you are today? Or when you look back, you feel like it was a bit tricky, and if you could change, you change some bits of it?
I would have loved to have my parents around. I think I would have loved that. But I look at my children and they've got a really good life. My wife and I have provided we've done really well, and we've been able to give them everything they want. And I kind of look at back at my own life, and I feel this is going to sound weird, but I feel very fortunate to have gone through the negative circumstances that I went through because I think it helped mold me in a different way than my children are being molded. Not that I make their life super easy, but I do think that they definitely don't have to go through the trials and tribulations that I feel like I went through.
Mhm.
And sometimes I worry that I don't equip them for, some of the things that do happen in life, the things that I was equipped for out of necessity just because of the craft that I experienced. Sometimes I worry that maybe they're not going to, I guess you could say, like the street smarts that I kind of grew up with. I don't think that's a bad thing, but I'm curious where it'll lead them in life, how it'll change their personalities and the way they react to things.
It's interesting saying that because I think parents, when you are parenting, there are no like a book for you to follow, you know what I mean? And based, our life experience, you go like, am I doing the right thing? They're going to feel the same way, or you know what I mean? So I think it's
Yeah.
all this question marks gonna be always there, like regardless how we went through in life. But I understand your point. Amazing. Next question. Okay, so before the next question, tell me a little bit about the idea for you to become a coach to help, people to, I even made a note here, helping parents transform their bodies. And why is that? Why did you start this career?
So growing up wanting to play football, I was fit my entire life. And then in the Marine Corps, I was extremely fit. I always enjoyed fitness. I've been working out since I was about 13 years old. And I'm turning 31 next month. So I've got a lot of years of my own experience in the gym, as well as going to school for nutrition and health. So when I turned 23, I met my wife. And she had breast cancer, so we immediately went into this journey of fighting breast cancer together. And I put my own health on the back burner. So I stopped going to the gym. I was at home more, helping, with our daughter. And then my son was born a few years later. And it was just like life was so busy. I was suddenly had a full-time job. I was going to school. I had 2 kids. I had a wife. we were both working. And next thing I knew, I was generally most of my life, I was around 200 pounds, 205 pounds. Suddenly I was 270 pounds. And I was like, whoa, what happened? Like, and I had to kind of reassess my life. And I realized, my whole life, nobody depended on me. And finally, when people depended on me, like their life could severely be affected by my actions, I decided to kind of put myself second, and my health and my fitness degraded. So I took my life back and I had a massive transformation. Like today, I'm 226 pounds this morning, and I'm very fit again. And I know there's a lot of men and women out there that have children and they feel like they lose themselves. And I want to help them. I've been through those same experiences. I know what they're going through. I know what it's like, and I have the tools and the experience to help them get out of that funk or that rut and get back to a place where they can be an inspiration and a role model for their kids through fitness and health. So that's
Wow.
what drove me to do that.
And there's this stigma that they say parenting, they never find time for themselves, for fitness. How do you kind of, prove them wrong? They say, what, there is a way.
A lot of times what I like to do is go through people's schedules. So the first couple weeks of training is generally feels a little bit disconnected because they're missing a lot of habits, they're missing a lot of workouts. And
Mhm.
what I like to do is we recap at the end of each day or every couple days. We talk about the schedule, and a lot of them will admit when they were just sitting on the couch or when they chose, I put my son down for a nap and decided to nap with him, or I put my son down for a nap and chose to fold the clothes. And so what I like to go over with people is, if you want to be there for your children for the rest of your life, because obesity, whether we like it or not, is one of the main drivers for death in America. I've worked with a couple clients outside of America as well, but it seems like that's where most of my clients come from. And obesity is really, really bad here. It affects like 1 in 5 people. So,
Wow.
one of the things that we like to go over is, like, if you really care about your children and you really want to be there for longevity, then your fitness and health do matter. Now, we don't all need to be massive jacked individuals. We don't all have to be able to run 5Ks at record times, but we do need to be fit enough to be able to run with our children and pick our children up and throw them in the pool or experience life with them. And so what I like to tell them is it's all about one decision. Most of the time, if the first time that they choose fitness
Mhm.
over something else, they'll start continuing that habit because they'll instantly start to feel the benefits. They'll start to realize, oh, you know what, I do have 10 minutes to go for a walk. Oh,
Oh,
yeah, I can do 30 minutes 3 times a week in the gym.
yeah.
My husband or my wife and I can swap places for 30 minutes a day, and she can take care of the kids and I go to the gym. But it's all about driving for the goals that you want. Like, if you truly want the goal of being more fit and more healthy, there is time. There's always time. And sometimes you have to make the decision to make the right decision. And that's all it comes down to. It comes down to that moment where you look at the couch and you say, "Man, I don't have much energy. I'm tired, but I'm gonna show up for myself. And if I can't do it for myself, I'm gonna show up for my kids today, just for 10 minutes. Anything's better than nothing," is what I tell
Wow.
everybody. Yeah, it's a
You know,
journey. It's not doesn't have to happen tomorrow. It's a journey that happens over time.
I find very interesting when I go in the park for a run, and I see those parents with the buggies. They are running with the
Hmm.
buggies. I find it so fascinating. I'm like, my God, they're baking time. You know what I mean? And they're literally
Hmm.
like, and they try to like just look at them like, and they're like running with their buggies. I find very interesting for sure.
Yeah, and it's good family time too. It's one of the
Totally.
best habits you can create with your kids is to do something active. So
And sometimes they even have the dog following the buggy
yeah,
as well.
that's true. Yeah.
Okay, next question is: if you won the lottery, what would be your first big splurge?
Mhm. If I won the lottery, I would try to put what I needed away for the next 20 years or invest it in a way that's safe so that my wife and I could stop working and spend more time at home together and with our kids. Because that's one of the things is that you can't get back is time. I can always make more money. I can always find a way to make more money, but they say, more money, more problems. You cannot get back your time. So I would try to utilize that money to afford myself more time with my family.
And do you think that money can bring happiness?
Well, I mean, if you're using it for things that make you feel wealthy,
Mm-hmm.
so, like time with family and time with kids, like if you're directing your money in that way, I think it can bring happiness. But I think if your money is spent and used in a vain way, if money is the pursuit of all your goals, if it's the core to all your goals, I don't think you're going to find happiness. I think you're going to find a false happiness and maybe even a little bit of loneliness. Because that journey for wealth, if you see people like Elon Musk or you see people like Jeff Bezos, like they all get divorced, they all are separated away from their children, they're all super busy individuals. And I think money a lot of times leads to wealth, but loneliness.
Totally agree. Next question. Let's do it. Okay, next question is, where is the most exotic place have you ever been?
Exotic. My wife and I like to take trips to Hawaii every year. So if we're going to talk exotic, as in like an island or a beach, we're not going this year, but yeah, we like to go to Hawaii. We go to Oahu.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I would say that's it. Other than that, when I was a kid, I went and visited my friend in Switzerland for a month. That was pretty awesome.
Wow. Where's about in Switzerland?
He's from Bern,
Okay.
Bern and Lausanne. So I spent most of my time there, and then we took like a 1 week trip to Amsterdam.
Wow. Amazing. Tell
Yeah.
me something, Daird. When you think about yourself, when you analyze you, what's the biggest joy of being Daird? What you like the most about being you?
Man, I've always wanted to be a father. When my son was born, so I married. My wife already had a daughter, so I married into our daughter. Love her like my own. I've been there for as long as she can remember, but there was something about it. My whole life, because of the way my parents were, I just wanted to do better than they did. I wanted to create life, bring life to this world, and show that I don't have to be a part of another cog in the wheel that does what my dad did. And man, the greatest joy in my life is being a father. I absolutely love my son. It is such an amazing journey watching him grow. Every day there's something new.
Uh-huh.
There's a lot of annoyances and my patience gets tested a lot. But man, I can't tell you that it's like the most, I think that's what we are here to do as human beings, is to create and to enjoy life with the ones we love. And man, I'm so much happier since my son has been. My life has absolutely transformed since he got here.
Wow. Wow. And I can feel the energy you tell it now. My God.
Yeah, I'm telling you, I've always wanted it. So it's like a dream come true now that he's here.
And so far, what has been the most meaningful lesson you've learned from him?
Oh man. You can't take anything back.
Wow.
Babies, they don't understand sorry. They don't understand an apology. They don't get any of that. Like you can say it and you can try to portray it to them, but they still cry and they're still hurt. You still scare them sometimes. Sometimes you don't have the patience and you make a mistake or you say something you wish you wouldn't have said. Or, oh man, when he was a real small baby, you think things, you get so overwhelmed that like thoughts come to you. It makes me I'm feeling emotional just thinking about it right now. And these thoughts come to your mind that you can't control, these intrusive thoughts, and you can't take it back. And you have to learn how to, apologize for yourself and say, you know what, I made a mistake and that's okay. And he doesn't understand, but I can let that go. Like it's okay to make mistakes. Yeah, I think he taught me a lot about you can't take things back. So always be focused on trying to do the right thing so that you don't have to say sorry or apologize.
Wow, beautiful. 3 questions left. Let's do it. Okay, so before the next question, I would like you to tell me a little bit more about your career as our air traffic controller. When I watch movies, when I watch, series, there's about airplanes, about, all those things. And I keep thinking, my God, how they get all the way up there? They start from there. There's
Mhm.
like lifts, elevator that they get there, they check in and go all the way up. They stare there looking, the screams. So, tell me a little bit about your daily routine, if you can, of course. If you can share a little bit of, how you need to log in a computer, you need to be always aware what's happening around there. It's just like a personal question that because I'm always
Yeah.
curious about that. But if you can share a little bit more about until the point where you can, of course.
Yeah. So my experience is going to be slightly different. So what I do now is there's still an air traffic control component. So I work for a Marine Corps base, and what we do at my current job is the air traffic controllers that get hired. Our job is to take units, people that are on the ground shooting rifles, because all ammunition has a vertical hazard, right? So anything can go up. So we separate people and their guns from aircraft in the air. So as aircraft, we have to keep aircraft at certain altitude or keep them out of certain areas to ensure that the people firing on the ground don't accidentally shoot airplanes out of the sky, because they're
Right.
shooting things like mortars where, the round goes like this, it goes up and then lands on top of a target. So the last thing you want is to have an airplane flying across as a mortar comes by. So my job is to talk to the pilots, talk to the ground units, know what's going on the ground, so I can keep the aircraft separated from each other, as well as all ground live fire that's going on. Does that make sense?
I see, absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. And what do you like the most about your job, and what's the most challenging part?
Mm. Um, I think I'm always been a fan of video games. Like growing up, I played a lot of video games. Sometimes it kind of feels like a video game in a way because I'm looking at a radar screen, so I
Uh,
don't see any planes. I'm like in a dark room,
oh my God.
so I'm like looking at it's just dots on a screen and they move like this, right? So sometimes it feels a little bit like a video game because you see what's happening and there's certain things that need to be done to ensure that aircraft don't crash into each other or don't fly where they're not supposed to fly and put themselves in an unsafe situation.
Wow. Okay. Next question is, what's the most... Okay, I want to change a little bit the question because I know. What's the strangest gift have you received and why?
Strangest gift ever received. Oh, all right. This is going to sound profound. Maybe I'm getting a little too deep. Um, Growing up, a lot of my life, I made a lot of bad decisions relationship wise.
Okay.
Um, and I think it kind of spurred from my own childhood, not knowing kind of what a good, healthy relationship was for my own parents. So I kind of squandered a lot of relationships growing up, probably hurt a lot of people's feelings, did a lot of things I wish I wouldn't have. And then when I got married, before I got married, my wife was totally not interested in me. The one woman that I finally wanted to treat really well and do and like give my life to
I love it.
and sacrifice everything for, she was just like disinterested in me. And
Wow.
I think I had to learn a little bit of a lesson. It was kind of a gift in a way. I had to learn how to be selfless and how to put her first. It wasn't all about me and the things I wanted. And like I told you earlier, she was diagnosed with breast cancer. So she was going through chemotherapy and radiation, and that affects people on like emotionally, mentally. And so even after we got married, there were times where she was disinterested in me just because she was feeling so sick or she was feeling so down. And I think I really had to learn how to be selfless and how to love somebody else fully and it not be about me. So even though nobody gave me that, I think that was the greatest gift that life kind of gave me.
Wow. Okay, so your wife is watching this interview right now, and you have a moment, an opportunity to send her a message. What would you say?
Oh man. Oh, I love you with all my heart, Alexis. You are the greatest gift in my life. you've given me everything I could have ever asked for. My life is great because of her. Honestly, I don't know where I would be had I not met her.
Wow, amazing. And how did your paths cross, if you can share? How, like,
So the Marine Corps, I never wanted to come to California. Like I said, I'm from Texas, and I don't know how much the rest of the world knows, but they're extreme opposites, Texas and California. And the Marine Corps, when I joined, you just get sent wherever they want to send you. And they sent me to Camp Pendleton, California. And my wife grew up in LA and Oceanside, the town right outside the base. And one night, a buddy of mine, we went to this bar to have a couple drinks before we met some friends. And she just happened to come sit in the chair next to me and she wouldn't let me buy her a drink. She knew exactly what I was up to and just completely denied me. And we ended up sitting around and talking and exchanging phone numbers. And then the rest was kind of history.
God, she
Yeah.
even didn't know that she was challenging you, because as you mentioned before, she even didn't know that she was, and you were getting more into it. I love it. Amazing. 2 questions left. Let's do it. For the next question, tell me what the Marine has taught you, being the Marine.
Man, the Marine Corps taught me how to be a part of it, like truly. Like I played football my whole life, but the Marine Corps taught me how to be a part of a team, like a true brotherhood, like willing to put my life on the line for others. And then the biggest thing was duty. The Marine Corps taught me that, what you do matters and it affects others. So always aim to do what's right. I know we hear stories about Marines not doing the right thing, but one of the things they teach you is that what you do affects other people. There's this thing in the Marine Corps of like mass punishment. One person messes up, a lot of people end up getting in trouble. And it's because it's not just you affect others. And so you learn a lot about duty and the importance of doing the right thing.
Amazing. Okay. Next question is, what 3 things do you want to be remembered for?
I want to be, I don't really care if people I don't know remember me. I think that what's most important to me is that my children want to be at my funeral. When I pass away, I hope my kids feel about me the way I feel about my grandfather. I hope I leave a lasting mark on their life as the person that when I'm gone, this might sound weird, but I hope when I'm gone that they truly miss me and wish that I was around, because that means that I offered them something that lasts them a lifetime. I want to be a beacon of light for my family.
Wow, I got goosebumps now saying that. It's amazing. And can you imagine your kids watch this interview in 20 years' time?
Yeah, I know. Yeah, that'd be crazy. He cared about us.
Last question, ready?
Yeah.
Let's do it. Last one. But before the last question, I'm going to ask you a tough question now. Mm-hmm. Have you forgiven your parents?
My dad got out of prison when I was about 13 or 14 years old. He was in there from when I was 8 until I was 13 or 14. And it took a long time, but my grandparents let him slowly get integrated back into my life. And he proved that he had changed. He had learned his lesson, and he was working, and he ended up getting remarried. And wow. I ended up spending a lot of time with my dad growing up, and he initiated an apology to me when I was about 19 years old. Like man to man, when I went off to college, he apologized to me for not being the man that I needed him to be. And that helped a lot. We ended up getting really close. My dad and I are really close now, but I would say he knows that my grandpa is my father. There's a difference between a dad and a father. Like my dad is he's the guy that, assisted in creating me, but my grandpa is my father. He raised me. And my dad doesn't have any qualms with that. He has a lot of respect for my grandpa. And I think that that made it a lot easier for me to forgive him. My mom, we're still working on it. I have a really tough time with my mom because she can be a very like um, self-centered woman. Her whole
Okay.
life she has been, and I try to be patient with her, but a lot of it's really difficult when you feel like, especially since my son's been born. I don't want to go off too long on this, but
Of
when my
course.
son was born, I had this really profound realization of, uh, like what kind of person my parents were when I was a kid, because I could never abandon my son. I could never, like, it's really easy for me not to break the law and end up in prison because I love my kids and I love my wife and I want to be there. So I sometimes I question myself as like, what kind of person were they when they had me? And for a while, right after my son was born, I had a lot of animosity for my parents. I felt like, how could you do that to me? Like I would never do
Yes.
that to my kids. And I've had to work through that, but that's not about them. That's about me,
Totally.
working through that. So my dad and I have a great relationship, and we've talked about that feeling. And he was like, he told me, son, I was just really young and dumb and selfish, and I was choosing women over my kids. And he was like, and I, again, I'm sorry for that. My mom, she can't seem to understand the way that I'm feeling. It's kind of like maybe she's just wired differently. I don't know, but
Yeah.
my mom and I aren't super close. Um, I have five siblings, two sisters, sorry, three sisters and a brother.
Hmm.
So there's five of us total,
Wow,
and
big
we
family.
all have either the same dad or the same mom, but none of us have the same two parents. So as you can
Yes.
imagine, my parents were running around relationship after relationship after relationship, and yeah, they were just young and dumb, making
Yeah.
mistakes and kind of choosing themselves over their kids. So sometimes I have a hard time forgiving that. I try my best. It's not the sole focus of my life, because if I focused on that, I'd have a really tough time being a happy person.
I see.
But I try to do the best with it that I can. I know my parents love me. I think it's just they have a different understanding of love than I do.
Absolutely. Thanks for sharing, Daird. I think it's interesting to to listen to that because again, my but by the way, I have very young parents as well. They
Hmm.
didn't abandon me, but for example, I never had a hug, I never had a kiss from my parents. And what you don't have it, you don't miss it because you don't know. So
Yeah.
when I started growing up as a teenager, again they gave me everything, like everything. We were a poor family, but I never missed anything. So they were parents, they were there for me. But
Hmm.
when I started like I was 15, 16, that I started having other friends. I was going to their places, and I could see their parents hugging. Then I was like, I was looking at them. I was like, oh my god, for me it was so strange to see that. And again,
Hmm.
I never blame my parents because they were working all the time to raise me and my sister. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I never realized that. So when I look back, I go like, my God, I never had those, things like growing up, and I never blamed them. But looking back now, it's hard. Sometimes you go like, my God, it's so important for us to have this because it's, as you said, when you're a child, you don't understand that. You just go like, it's strange. And when you become an adult, you go like, my goodness, uh, I think if I would have a son right now, my God, I could be like exactly the same as you. I think I would give them so much love and so much attention that I never had. Again, I wouldn't change anything because I love my parents and I think they gave me the best they could, but they never
Hmm.
had as well. So it can be a bit tricky and understand your points. And sometimes, it's a different story because you had other situations as well that I didn't.
Yeah.
However, it's a similar situation because there was an affection there. You know what I mean?
Totally. Yeah.
But my mother, I see she's a grandmother. They are grandparents now, and they're amazing. You know what I mean? My sister has a,
Yeah.
a daughter, and my mom is I can see her like how amazing she is. So she's doing well as a grandmother,
Yeah.
and she raised me really well with my sister. They gave me everything, but there was something missing there that I didn't know until I became an adult and understand that. But family can be a topic, can go different directions. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
Amazing.
Well, I will say this: my dad is the same way. It's so weird seeing him around my son. he comes out and visits us to see I think he just comes out for my son, but he's like a
Uh-huh.
totally different grandpa than he is a dad. Like,
Yeah.
I'm like, hey, where was this guy when I was a kid? You know, like I was like, man, you should have been like this when I was younger. I would have loved this version of you. But to see that come out of him does make me happy. I do
Absolutely.
enjoy seeing him and my son because it's like I'm getting a view of my dad that I never knew growing up. So it is kind of nice. It's different.
Yeah,
It's a different time too. There's different expectations today than there was in the 80s and 90s. There's a
totally.
different expectation on dads and parents in general, and I think that it's a good expectation today. You know,
Totally.
I think people don't. You know, it's kind of frowned upon to abandon your kids now, right? And to not
Absolutely.
be there. So it's easy for me to judge them for their actions now. I'm not saying they were right for what they did. It's easy for me to judge now in today's lens, but I it's hard. Like I need to understand that it was different. They have it like you have a different life experience than everybody else around you. They
Totally.
had a different life experience growing up than I had, and that
Absolutely.
affected their actions and their reactions to things. So trying to remember those things makes it easier to forgive people too.
For example, my parents, my mom's, she just turned 60 last year. So, and I'm 42, so we are very close age. My dad's just,
Oh, that's the same
yeah,
with me. My dad will
yeah,
turn 60 when I turn 40.
the same thing as well. And I've been like, I remember so many situations with my parents that they thought I was their cousin, I was their brothers, or their, you know what I mean? There was, and they play around growing up. I remember, for example, two fun facts. When my mom turned 51 years old, I brought her to Europe for the very first time, and we did a tour in Europe. So I
Oh
took
wow.
her to the Eiffel Tower in Paris, and we were in the top of the Eiffel Tower. There was a lot of tourists around there, and suddenly, she was in front of me, and this couple, the lady, crossed between us, and her partner pulled her back and said, "Let her husband pass by." He thought I was my mom's husband.
Wow.
I know, and I look at her, I look at him, and I was like, "She's my mom," and he was like, "I'm so sorry." I was like, "No, no, no! You made her day. It's her birthday. I love it." And I think it was the last time that somebody misunderstood that we were.
Yeah, yeah.
Another fact as well. My dad, when they split, my dad, he married again, and he had kids now. He became again dad at different age.
Hmm.
And once I went to visit him, and his daughter, young daughter, she was maybe 3 years old. And my dad's a truck driver, so he was driving a lot. And at one point, his wife said, "Oh, let's gonna go and buy something like for lunch." And I went just my dad driving, my half sister, she was between me, and I was the other seat of the truck. And
Hmm.
one point, the little girl said to him, "Dad, I love you so much." And he said, "I love you too." When he said that, Daird, I never seen my dad expressing their feelings before.
Mm.
I even couldn't look like this side because it was so strange to see. Not that I was hurt or anything, but
Yeah.
it felt so strange to see my dad saying "I love you," because I never heard him saying that before. And I felt happy in the same time as well because I was like, "Oh my God, now he knows how to be a dad. Now he
Yeah.
understands." But it was so strange for me to see my dad expressing a feeling that I never seen before. And he hugged her.
Wow.
And I was like, wow, that was a moment that I was remembering. Anyway, families.
Wow. Yeah, I told my buddy it's crazy. I told my buddy just the other day, my buddy from Switzerland, because he has his relationship with his dad is really bad. He had a pretty bad childhood too, and I told him just the other day, it's going to sound weird, but I think we're fortunate to have the parents that we had because
100%.
we learned,
100%.
we learned both sides of the coin. We kind of got to see bad parents and we got to see good parents, and now today we can take the good and the bad and be able to separate them and ensure that we don't do the things that our parents did. So you can go one of two ways. Like we can take the things our parents did and just like carbon copy that onto our kids, and then they're ruined too, or we can choose to take those things and learn from them. So oddly enough, there's a lesson that can be learned just from looking back at our childhoods and deciding, like I did or I didn't like what my parents did, or like that affected me in a negative way or that affected me in a positive way. So
100%.
yeah,
100%. Totally agree with you. And again, I don't blame them, and I'm grateful. I wouldn't change
yeah,
thing. because
Yeah.
I'm so glad the person I am right now, because I'm so thankful for that. And also I've been raised sometimes from my grandparents as well, because they split. It was a very the relationship was very, all the time problems and things. And my grandmother, like, she was raising me, and when my mom came to pick me up back, she was crying because they got attached to me. You know what I mean? So it was a difficult situation. But again, we are grateful for that, for sure.
Yeah.
Big time. Last question is, what was your favorite thing to do as a kid?
My grandparents owned a horse ranch, and my grandpa was too old to saddle bronc horses, to train a horse how to ride with a saddle.
Uh-huh.
And so that became my job. And I used to love the first time you get on a horse, because a lot of times it's a very long process, but a lot of times they'll eventually let you on, but they don't want to move. And some of them will try to throw you off. And man, oh man, at one point, I thought I was going to join the rodeo. I absolutely loved when a horse tried to throw me off. So one of the greatest experiences for my kids from when I was a kid was holding on for dear life while a horse was trying to throw me off its back. I will never forget that experience. It was life-changing. It was so exhilarating. It's such a strange, like, roller coasters feel one way, but like when you're on a horse and you're not tied down and you never know what's going to happen, like you kind of get on that kind of like riding that line of danger. Oh man, that was exhilarating. I wouldn't go back and do it today because I'd probably break my back. But as a kid, that was an awesome experience.
Oh my God. And now they wouldn't allow you to do that anyway, because of health and safety,
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Right, it's not the end yet. Let's play now the word association game. I'm going to give away some words. Just tell one word that comes to your mind. Quick thinking. Okay. One word for money.
Problems.
Fear.
Adventure.
Life.
Lessons.
Family.
Love.
One word for religion.
Backbone.
One word for love.
Life. Oh, man, I think the two are the same. I don't know.
Okay. Yeah. Sex.
Pleasure.
Politics.
Dangerous.
More than the horse drive, the horse thing?
Yeah, a different kind of danger, right?
Desire.
Family.
Friendship.
Thin.
Regret.
Never.
Success.
Journey.
One word for happiness.
Family.
Wish.
Freedom.
One word for Houston.
Texas.
One word for California.
Family. For sure.
USA.
Home.
One word for coach.
Inspiration.
And the last one now, air traffic controller. One word.
Job.
Let's pretend now I'm going to meet your wife for a coffee, and I'm going to ask her, find Daird in one positive and one negative word only. What should say?
One positive and negative word you should say to her?
Yeah, about you.
About me.
Yeah.
Just one word?
Yeah, one negative and one positive to define you, in her opinion.
Annoying. I can be annoying for sure. And devoted.
Amazing. Let's play now, Daird, in the magic box, and you can ask me a question. But before we ask him the question, parents who watch this interview right now, would you like to get more understanding about the work you do as a coach? How they can connect with you?
They can find me on Instagram at coach_Daird, and that's Daird, coach_Daird. That's where I do most of my business at.
Mhm.
They can find me there for sure. Yeah.
And what's something about the work you do that stands out compared with other coaches around there?
So I'm not like a lot of these really young fitness influencers that don't have a busy life. They say
Like,
you hear this all the time. We all have the same 24 hours. Well, yeah, sure, we all have the same 24 hours, but people depend on me. I have a life, I have a career, I have a wife, I go to school, I got 2 kids. Like I'm a busy person, and so I would say what puts me aside is I know exactly what you're going through. I know exactly what you're going through. I go through it every day. Yesterday, for example, I had goals. I did not meet my 10,000 steps. I didn't even get my workout in yesterday. I chose, to run some errands with my family and just go to bed with my son. Sometimes I don't get a lot of chances to just lay down in bed and go to sleep with him. So, um, you know, life comes first, work comes second, and then our fitness, we fit it in as we can. And I totally get a busy schedule. So I have been where you've been. I know exactly what you're going through. And I guarantee the things I implemented in my own life, we can implement into your life, and I can help you get where you want to be.
amazing. And he made time for the interview. For the
Yeah.
5 o'clock in the morning. 5 o'clock in the morning. That's amazing. Okay, you can ask me a question out there.
Yeah. So a little bit of a two-parter, because I know the question is not supposed to be about your show. The show is not what you do full time.
No, it's not.
Okay, then my question would be this: what is it that you do in your day-to-day life, and outside of that, what brings you pleasure?
Wow, wow. Okay, the first part of the question. So I work as a receptionist in a investment company, yeah, and
Okay.
I do a little bit as well of administration, yeah. And
Okay.
what brings pleasure in life, that it's a therapy of the week for me. I go to the cinema once a week or twice sometimes to see a
I
movie.
love that.
It's the only time of the day of the week that I literally forget about everything what's happening out there. It's the only time that I I connect with whatever I'm watching. You know what I mean? It's a therapy. Of course, I love the gym. I love to travel. I love to meet people. It's something it's always there. I have a
Yeah.
membership card there is a chain cinema here in England, in London, called Cineworld. And I have this membership card since 2007. So imagine.
That's awesome.
When
I love that.
when I arrived in London, it was one of the first things that I signed up for in 2007. So I remember, look, I was paying £7 monthly for this membership card. Nowadays, I pay £20. Look how it increased.
That's
Anyway,
awesome.
it's also because if I go to Central London for a movie, I pay £25. Can you imagine for one movie? And
Oh,
this one,
wow.
yeah, this membership card, I can go anytime. I can see any movies. I can repeat, and I have a discount in popcorns and anyway. But back to your question, it's movie for me. I love movies. It's something that's disconnect from. I think it's the only time when I don't think about the magic box. It's the only
Yeah,
time
really.
because besides that, growing, I like waking up, going to bed, the magic box always hit in my head. So yeah, that's my answer for you for sure. Yeah.
I love that. Yeah, movies are definitely. I'm a big movie buff too, so
Yeah.
um, it is a nice escape sometimes to get away from reality for a moment and just like dive into another world. So I feel that.
Amazing. Did you enjoy the interview, Daird?
I did. This was a lot of fun. I liked it a
Thanks
lot.
again. Thanks again for taking the time. Thanks for being so kind and be so open as well. I love your story. I think it's amazing for you to be able to to share that, because you never know who's watching this interview right now. And as I mentioned before, we have families, all of us, and sometimes we think our family are not perfect, but there's always different kind of ways of approaching, the word family, because we go through a lot. And see someone talking so open about it, and I can see how, you are an amazing dad, and you took the challenge journey that you had in the past to turn around and give the best life to your kids. And I think that's it's a big example how you can change things around, and how you can become a better person based on your challenges in life. And everything counts in the end of the day. I think we need to be grateful for that, and see someone so successful talking about that. I think it's amazing. About healing as well, of course. I think it's about healing, but helping others as well. So thanks again for being so open.
Yeah, the last thing I would say though is life gives you nothing but lemons. This is something that I tell people all the time. Life gives you nothing but lemons, and it's your choice. It's your choice to squeeze all the juice out of them that you can, whether they're whether they're the lemons you want or not, or you can let them sit on the counter and rot. It's your choice. But life gives you nothing but lemons. So squeeze all the life out of them that you can and enjoy it.
Amazing. I was about to ask you to share a positive quote. Just did right now.
There you go. Yeah, thank you so much.
Again. Regards to your family and your kids, and you keep in touch. It was a pleasure having you on the show.
Will do. Thank you.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Right, bye.
So, did you like the show? Don't forget to give a like, share it, and also don't forget to subscribe to the channel. And if you'd like to be part of the show as well, first, subscribe to our channel, and after that, just go to our website, www.williamandthemagicbox.com, and send us a request saying why do you like to be part of the show. And I see you there. Bye-bye. See you next time.